Game 3 was anything but expected. It wasn't the MVP, Mr. Clutch, or the Thunder's bench who took over. It was two unlikely heroes named Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell. Meet the guys who just beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the guys who may have just changed the entire NBA Finals. Mathurin is a former lottery pick player who had an extremely solid start to his NBA career. He was 4th in Rookie of the Year voting and has started in just under half of all of his games, with career splits of 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists, increasing his overall efficiency by the year. However, last year an elbow injury prevented the former Wildcat from being a part of the team's Eastern Conference Finals run, and in these playoffs he's taken on a bit of a smaller role, averaging just 17 minutes per game. But it was last night where Mathurin may have just started his journey of becoming a household name. He had a game-leading 27 points in 22 minutes on just 12 shots. Mathurin quite literally did everything. He showed his ability to cut with some perfect plays, he hit 2 3-pointers, he got to the line multiple times, he converted multiple and one opportunities, and he dropped 10 points in the 4th quarter alone. Last night, Mathurin became the first bench player to drop 25 points in the NBA Finals since Jason Terry did in 2011. And we all remember in 2011, one of the biggest finals upsets in NBA history was coached by now Pacers coach Rick Carlisle. Aiding the destruction of the Thunder includes longtime Pacer veteran TJ McConnell. If Mathurin was the one hitting the clutch shots, then McConnell is the one assisting him on those shots, coming up with some crucial plays. The backup point guard became essential with a 10.5 assist, 5 steal game in just 22 minutes. 3 of those steals actually occurred after a made bucket, which had a huge demoralizing impact on the Thunder. This is something that the box score doesn't show, but it is something that wins or loses games. Don't forget, McConnell has been one of the league's most effective bench players. During this playoff run, he's been averaging about 20 points and 9 assists per 36 minutes on relatively decent efficiency. The 32-year-old has not only won over the hearts and minds of Pacers fans, but he has crushed that of those from Oklahoma City. And of course, we need to talk about the star guard next to him, Mr. Clutch himself, Tyrese Haliburton. McConnell and Mathurin was the chaos that was needed to win Game 3, but Haliburton was the captain that guided the team. Like I expected, this was a turnaround game for Tyrese as he attempted 4 more shots than last game, and those were early, consistent shot attempts, and he honestly probably could have had more if he wanted to. This opened up space in the Pacers offense, and it resulted in Haliburton getting 11 assists. Along with that, he also put up 9 boards, being just 1 shy of the all-elusive NBA Finals triple-double. And then not to mention, he hit 4 threes with 2 steals and a block. We are just 2 wins away from crowning Haliburton not only as the NBA Finals MVP, but the NBA postseason MVP. And also assisting out Haliburton was Pascal Siakam, who struggled just as much, if not more, in Game 2. However, he played way better with just 21 points on 14 shots, which is massive given Miles Turner shot just 3 of 11 this game. Siakam especially helped out the Pacers as he had 7 points in the 1st quarter alone, which was massive given that the Thunder had a pretty strong start to the game. And speaking of a strong start with the Thunder, that again goes out to Chet Homegrren, who dropped 20 and 10 with 13 points on 5 attempts in just the 1st quarter alone. However, after that strong start, Chet would slow down, shooting just 6 of 15 from the field. But for Homegrren, it was another overall solid game, despite it not being the most efficient game for the center. We will have to see how everything pans out in the next week or so, but I think we have seen a ton of maturing from Homegrren in these playoffs, and one way or another, I think next season is going to be a pretty big year for him. Another performance worth shouting out was Jaylen Williams. J-Dub finally had his first real good game of the series, dropping a Thunder high 26 points with 6 rebounds and 3 assists on 18 shots. This was an overall just really good game for him, and it was something that he needed as he has been struggling massively, just shooting around 33% for the first 2 games of the series. However, this was a case of it also just not being enough for the Thunder to get the win. And that leads us to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had one of his worst games as of late. Despite playing the 2nd most minutes he's played in these playoffs, this was the 4th lowest scoring game, putting up just 24 points on 20 attempts. While that alone isn't awful, the Thunder usually need him scoring more, especially when the bench doesn't show up. This is the second most amount of minutes that Shai has played in these playoffs, however it was his fourth lowest scoring game. It also doesn't help that he recorded 6 turnovers, even though I would only consider 5 of them to be real turnovers. But SGA doesn't deserve all the blame for this loss, as it was a difference in depth that controlled this game. It was in Game 2 where we saw the Thunder supporting cast go insane, and Game 3 was just like that except for the Pacers. However, in this game, the Thunder's role players did not have a significant impact when compared to those first 2 games of the series. Lou Dort did go 4 of 5 from 3-point range, however he did not record a block or a steal this game. Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, and Alex Caruso combined for just 14 points in a combined 45 minutes of playing time, and Isaiah Hartenstein, someone I've been complimenting all series, was neutralized with just 4 points, 3 rebounds, and 0 assists. As a whole, the Pacers bench outscored that of the Thunder's 49-18, something basically no team will win with, especially when their best player is having an uncharacteristically bad game. And that's even with the Thunder winning the rebounding battle too. But despite the Thunder's depth not prevailing, and despite SGA not having a fantastic game, this game still came down to the 4th quarter. But it was in the 4th when the Pacers dominated, outscoring the Thunder 32-18, with 8 of their 9 players scoring in that quarter. Teams that win Game 3 go on to win the overwhelming majority of the series, about 80% of the time to be exact. Now, OKC can look at this loss in 2 ways. One way you could look at it is that it was actually kind of a good loss. It was good in the sense that your role players and SGA had a bad game, yet you only lost in the last few minutes, and it was due to a fluky big game by 2 unsung heroes. However, I would counter this by saying the Thunder exhausted themselves far more than Indiana did. Lou Dort and J-Dub both played 36 minutes. Chet played 34. SGA played 42. As a whole, the Thunder starters just played way more minutes than the Pacers. Yes, Tyrese Haliburton played 36, but Nembhard was at 33, Siakam was at 32, and Miles Turner barely eclipsed 30. And with there being just 1 day of rest in between games 3 and 4, the fatigue situation is now tilting towards that of the Pacers. Game 4 is the most important game of the season for the Thunder. However, it might just be their most difficult game to win. The Pacers have the momentum. Multiple role players just had huge games. Their star players in Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam just had huge bounce-back games after struggling in Game 2. On top of that, they're coming off of less minutes, meaning they should be more well-rested, and they're playing in front of a very excited Indiana Pacers crowd. I am really liking this Pacers team to take Game 4 as well and put the Thunder in a position that only one team has ever survived in the NBA Finals, the infamous 3-1 deficit. Of course, this series is not over. However, SGA's back is about to be against the wall, and I won't be surprised if we see another 40+ minute game from the league's MVP. But that is how 2 role players crushed the Oklahoma City Thunder on and off the court. We are breaking down the finals after every game, so if you want to see more of that, hit the sub button and let me know down below who you have taking Game 4 and who you have taken the finals as a whole. But as we've seen time and time again in these playoffs, the Pacers have their famous comeback game, they have a famous offensive explosion game, Tyrese Haliburton goes off, but when they take that lead, they don't lose it. And now that they're up 2-1, with another home game, that might just be too much for the Thunder to overcome. But guys, that is it for this one. If you liked the video, you know what to do, and I will catch you all later.